Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Otta, and without further ado, I'll get right into today's video. So today I'll be discussing and reviewing my thoughts on the new Thor Love and Thunder movie, which I recently saw just a couple days ago. Without giving too much away, because I know a lot of people have still not seen it, even though I'm late on the video. I know that there's a lot of people that haven't seen the movie yet, so without giving too much away, and without spoiling the movie too much, I wanted to give you my review on it after I saw it, my thoughts, how I felt on it, the good, the bad, and the overall thoughts on the movie and everything else, and the characters as well. And so without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, so what was good about the new Thor movie? So first off, the visuals and the combat scenes in most of the combat scenes were amazing. And they looked great. It felt very cool to see. It almost felt like playing a video game, and so that was great. In addition, the relationship between Jane Foster, who's, as you might know her as like Lady Thor, and Thor got to a whole new level in this movie, which we hadn't really seen before in their relationship in previous movies, so that was great to see. In addition, the main villain of the movie, Gore, he was a brilliant supervillain in my opinion. He was someone similar to like the Joker, where you hate him at first, but as you get to know his story and you understand what why he became a villain and all that, you come to kind of understand him, maybe not love him, but come to understand what he had gone through and why he made the decisions that he had. So I think the villain choice was spot on, and I think Christian Bale playing Gore did a great job of that. Okay, so now that we talked about the good, let's get into the bad, right? So this movie was funny, and before you say, well, why is being funny bad? Here's why. So all of the MCU movies, and all movies in general, obviously need some humor, just some comedic humor, even in like the most serious scenes. However, this movie, even though it was hilarious at times, it almost felt like it was forcing the comedy. And what this did was it really took away from all of the characters and all the serious scenes. And it really took away especially from Thor's character, where it made him seem very dumbed down in comparison to how he was in the movies before this one. And so this really, like I said, was something that I didn't really prefer. I like comedy movies, but I think that when you go to see an MCU movie, you have a certain expectation that the serious scenes will be taken seriously, and there will be some comedy thrown in, but it won't ever take away from the characters and how they are and how they represent themselves to us. So I think that movie kind of did that, so it was comedic to a fault. So in addition to the overuse of comedy in a lot of scenes in the movie, another part of it was some of the unexplained outcomes and how they jumped from plot point to plot point at times, such as how Jane Foster, was able to become like Thor so easily, and how she was able to, do all the things that Thor is able to do, even though she obviously didn't have any previous training. So we know that Thor obviously didn't just become Thor because of his hammer, but rather because of all of his training previous to this, and that helped him become Thor. And obviously his hammer and all the magic and all that helped, but his abilities weren't just from the hammer, but rather from years of training. And so we don't really know how Jane Foster got that ability, other than she was able to get the hammer and that gave her the ability. Okay, so we discussed the good, the bad, and so let me give you my overall thoughts on the movie. So basically, like I said, I think it played way too much into the comedy, and while that was hilarious and it was great to see, it felt like after seeing the comedy and laughing about it in theaters, you kind of thought to yourself, well, why was that really in there? There was really no point to it other than just to get a cheap laugh, which isn't always good. And so I think this movie leaned a lot towards the comedy aspect of things rather than the actual story aspect of things, which made it feel more like an MCU parody rather than a new adventure that Thor and his teammates were taking on. And so I didn't really like that aspect of things. In addition, while Gore was a great supervillain, like I mentioned previously in what was good about the movie, The ending wasn't quite as fulfilling as I thought it should be. It made sense and everything kind of came full circle as it usually does, but I was expecting a little bit more and I was kind of left disappointed with the outcome because it was kind of something that all the viewers kind of knew was happening, which didn't really add to the excitement of watching it. Okay, so should you go see the Thor movie? I think you definitely should. If you like comedy and you like superhero movies, I think it's a good mix. While the comedy did take away from the aspect of certain characters at times, I don't think it was to such a degree that it can't be watched or enjoyed. It was a very enjoyable movie to go to and I don't regret going to it. I would just say that because MCU movies in the past have such a high standard, and especially Thor movies have such great ratings and they were all so perfect, this one seemed lower. But I would feel that if this movie is just rated on its own, it would be maybe an 8 or 9. But when it's rated with the other MCU movies, I would probably put it at a 6.5, 7. But I would still say that it was a very enjoyable experience and we got to see another type of MCU movie, I would say, which was interesting to watch. And while it wasn't the best, it definitely wasn't the worst. So that's my opinion on that, and that's my review. I hope you go see the movie, and after you do see the movie, or if you have already at the time of this video, please let me know what you think and if you think my review is valid or not valid. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Peace.